Good evening and welcome to The Frame, an initiative of Access Framingham. My name is Brendan Fitzpatrick. We begin tonight with a review of the public hearing regarding local health care that was held during Tuesday's City Council meeting at the Memorial Building. CEO of MetroWest Medical Center John Whitlock and Carolyn Jackson, the CEO of the Massachusetts market for Tenet Healthcare, which owns MetroWest Medical Center, were called by the City Council last month to attend a meeting as a way to establish a line of communication following months of residents and medical professionals lamenting about the state of local healthcare. This also came in the wake of Framingham Union Hospital nurses voting to join the Massachusetts Nurses Association last week. Jackson's opening remarks pointed to economic issues, labor shortages, and supply chain prices impacting hospitals across Massachusetts, not just in Framingham. Whitlock added that Tenet has helped the organization make payroll amid a 36-month-long stretch of MetroWest Medical Center being in the red. He said that some medical services have had to be cut in order to provide resources towards, quote, more critical life-saving services, end quote. Jackson and Whitlock both mentioned investments into the organization in recent years.
In summary, we need support from this council. We need positive energy to recruit more caregivers, doctors, nurses, and others dedicated to healthcare. We need to stop negative stories about things which create sensationalism. We need to share these stories about things that are really benefiting patients. And we need to be realistic about the time it will take to recover, given the pandemic has ravaged community hospitals, especially here in Massachusetts. If these things happen, Tenet is committed to supporting the hospital through a very difficult period.
As they showed appreciation for the executives showing up, city councilors still referenced the wide range of complaints they've received from citizens, as well as their desire to find solutions for everyone involved.
I know the negativity part, and I know there's a lot, excuse me, of, criticism, but it's warranted because these nurses that live here, they want to stay here.
The concern is around a lot of different things that you mentioned. It's around staffing, it's around quality of care, it's around programs that have been closed. And so I know some of those are happening because you are a for-profit entity, but it's difficult as a community, especially when we don't have a voice at the table, to hear some of those things.
President of the Massachusetts Nurses Association and Framingham resident Katie Murphy spoke in regards to that unionization vote. She, alongside other nurses at the local medical center, such as Tom Chappett, a nurse who's been at MetroWest Medical Center since 1980, called on Tenet brass to expedite negotiations for a contract, commit to maternity services, improve working conditions, reinstate bonus pay for picking up extra shifts, and hire traveling nurses as a way to ease staffing troubles while a long-term plan is developed.
We have more nurses in Massachusetts today than we did before the pandemic. You know the colleges and universities we have in this state. We churn out a couple of thousand nurses every single solitary year. There are nurses in Massachusetts, and they want to work, but they are not willing to work under the circumstances which exist in the hospitals today.
We have a fantastic hospital, short-staffed, overworked, but we are very good. We are willing to work with you. We want the hospital alive and well and shining.
City councilors were optimistic that meetings such as this can become a more regular occurrence as a way to increase communication and for updates to be provided. We have more information on that meeting, including points regarding the closure of aquatic therapy pools at the MetroWest Wellness Center, on our website, www.theframe.news. Additional details on the stories you'll see here tonight can be found there. You can stay up to date with us from need-to-know announcements to events going on in the community. You can sign up for our newsletter there as well. Meanwhile, Jennifer Pratt, the Assistant Chief Financial Officer for Framingham, has been named as the city's interim CFO. Pratt has served as the Assistant CFO locally since 2006, and she now steps into the interim position following Luis Miller's resignation last month. Miller's decision to step down came following multiple conversations between the CFO and city councilors regarding financial transparency and the reporting of municipal financial figures. Now, Pratt will be tasked with reviewing the city's capital project budget, as well as preparing for the 2025 fiscal year budget, alongside Mayor Charlie Sisitsky and other city officials. In a statement, Sisitsky said, quote, "Ms. Pratt is more than capable to oversee the financial functions of the city, including developing and implementing the operating and current expense budgets. I know she will deliver outcomes that will have a meaningful impact on the municipal finances while remaining accountable to our taxpayers." Sisitsky added that this is the second instance in which Pratt has stepped into the CFO position in Framingham on an interim basis. In other news, during their most recent meeting this past Thursday, the Framingham Charter Review Committee voted to recommend that no changes be made to the City Council's makeup and size. Tasked with reviewing the city's home rule charter starting every year that ends in a 3, the Charter Review Committee's votes are meant to guide the process. Their votes are not official changes to the charter. Still, the group voted 5-4 to recommend that the size and structure of the City Council remain unchanged. This matter was addressed during a meeting last month where the committee moved to seek public feedback through an online survey. Over 300 people responded to the poll, with these options up for consideration. A, no changes to the 11-member City Council, which currently has 2 at-large representatives. B, having 3 regional councilors replace the 2 at-large spots. C, adding those 3 regional councilors while keeping just 1 at-large councilor. And finally, D, having 4 at-large councilors instead of 2. 36% of those who took the poll said they preferred the current makeup as is, while 32.4% endorsed option B, replacing the 2 at-large seats with a trio of regional ones. 13% voted for the 4 at-large councilors, while 12.6% voted for the 3 regional seats in addition to the sole at-large spot. Committee members discussed the potential changes to the composition of the City Council, discussing factors like the price of running an at-large campaign and the effectiveness of the present system.
I just don't think we should change anything. I think it's working. I'm very much in favor of the at-large counselors because I think they bring a different perspective. I think they, have a stronger voice.
We're trying to build a structure that, as best as it can, enables good government. The closer you can bring your representatives in the council, at least, the closer you can bring your representatives to the actual people they represent, the better.
Now, it's worth noting that LeMary there was explaining his support for option B. The group went on to recommend that the topic be revisited by the next Charter Review Committee, who would have the benefit of additional context, information, and public opinion on the record. The City Council will be voting on enacting any recommended changes to the Home Rule Charter later this year. An update now on the ongoing school bus driver shortage in Framingham, as the city's school committee will soon be presented with official options on how to proceed. Executive Director of Finance and Operations for the school district, Lincoln Lynch, spoke during Wednesday night's school committee meeting. There, he mentioned that just 57 drivers are serving local schools at most. At the current peak, that's still 20 drivers short of what their contract with NRT Bus Incorporated calls for, or 26%. Adam Freudberg of District 4 pointed out that the number of drivers has been down to as little as 53 recently. In turn, Lynch told the committee that options will be detailed during their meeting on February 7th. He outlined those proposals this week. The city could either continue its agreement with NRT, bring school bus operations in-house by leasing buses and making drivers city employees, or they could look for a different bus vendor, with a bid on that third front set to be published next week. If they were to go with the in-house model, Lynch added that the district could either lease buses through NRT or accept a separate bid for leasing that they recently received. Lynch told committee members that during the upcoming meeting, he'd be at least looking for, quote, some serious guidance, end quote, on how to proceed, even if a vote on the matter is not taken, considering that the next fiscal year is set to begin in a matter of months.
And as you all know, we don't stop over the summer. Some districts stop and have 2 months to regroup. We're transporting 3,000, 3,500 students to summer programs. So we need our bus operation ready to go July 1 so we can get students to and from the summer programs.
We need to be ready at our next meeting to make this decision in my mind.
Freudberg mentioned that in the near future, the district should explore the opportunity to bill NRT for breach of contract in order to help with costs related to the bus driver shortage, such as MWRTA passes. Coming up on The Frame, after a tough few years on the wallets of consumers, are things looking up in 2024? That's next, but first, we want to remind you that if you've got a tip for us, you can email us at theframe@accessfram.tv, or you can give us a call to our tip line. It's 508-216-0003. We'll be right back.
Eva Marie smoked 12,000 packs of cigarettes over 15 years. She quit, and now there's a new lung cancer screening that could save her life. You stopped smoking. Now start screening. No matter how much you smoked, early detection could save you. Talk to your doctor or learn more at savedbythescan.org.
Gracias. Thank you. What's wrong, mijo?
Donating to a pet's medical care can keep families together. Pets and people belong together. Learn more at petsandpeopletogether.org.
Welcome back to The Frame, as it's now time for our weekly focus. The U.S. economy has had a tumultuous few years, especially in the wake of the global coronavirus pandemic. By many measures, things are supposedly looking up across the country, though, considering factors like the unemployment rate. But for your average everyday consumer, the cost of living is still a slippery slope to navigate. Our own Mackenzie Wright joins us now to continue this conversation. Mackenzie?
Yeah, Brendan, the U.S. economy is resilient, strong, and growing as a whole, due in part to increased consumer spending. At the same time, there's a lot of frustration from Americans fatigued from high prices and costs. Maybe they aren't able to afford their utility bills, pay for childcare, or buy a home. Then, of course, people have to eat, and sticker shock at the grocery store doesn't seem to be going anywhere anytime soon.
Na verdade, os moradores a cada dia estão mais preocupados e mais atentos nas suas compras. E com o aumento do custo, eles têm esticado o seu orçamento para tentar conseguir fazer as suas compras.
Rising costs across the country have hit consumers hard for years now, especially in grocery stores where inflation has made even the most basic of goods and necessities a strain on our wallets.
E os importados são aqueles que mais têm atrapalhado isso, porque o transporte tem sido muito caro.
That's Almeida, a representative from Cipra Foods located on Waverly Street in Framingham. Cipra Foods is a family-owned business founded by the Cipra family, who immigrated from Portugal to the United States in 1967. The grocery store prides itself on providing its customers with a variety of ethnic foods and related items that meet the needs of diverse local communities. That means importing a lot of items, like fresh fruits and vegetables from Portugal, Brazil, Ecuador, Peru, Mexico, Spain, and so on.
Cipra Foods tem uma ligação muito forte com a nossa comunidade. Porque aqui você consegue comprar seus alimentos preferidos lá da sua cidade, lá do seu país, da sua terra.
Almeida says Cipra Foods works hard to bring the lowest possible prices to their customers.
Nós temos dezenas de novos fornecedores para que a gente possa conseguir um melhor preço, para que o preço chegue melhor à ponta final para os clientes. Sendo assim, o Seabra, sim, está preocupado com esse momento de aumento nos preços. O que nós notamos foi que em 2023 houve quedas de produtos essenciais, de carnes, hortifrutis, e nós esperamos que em 2024 nós possamos ter os mesmos produtos com excelência, mas com preço um pouco melhor do que 2023.
But even if prices do go down a little bit, it's not likely they'll ever return to pre-pandemic levels. That's according to Dr. Laura Lamontagne, Associate Professor of Economics at Framingham State University.
This is going to be the new normal, per se, in the sticker prices that you see at your grocery store.
Laura leads a cost of living survey within FSU's MetroWest Economic Research Center, or MERC for short. The cost of living survey, which has been ongoing since 1991, is a measure of inflation specific to the MetroWest area. Within that survey, there are different subcategories, such as a healthcare index or transportation index. It's normal for those indexes to fluctuate, especially over a 3-decade-plus period. But adding a global pandemic to the mix has had a big impact, specifically on factors related to housing, utilities, and groceries.
Since October 2019, prices in the MetroWest, or overall cost of living in the MetroWest, has increased over 30% by our measure. And that's pretty consistent with what we're seeing nationwide. Groceries specifically, we see over a 35% increase in the grocery items index. So that's not to say that every individual item has increased 35%, but that is the general on average trend.
When it comes to shopping for groceries, Laura recommends being as budget conscious as possible by keeping an eye on sales or being diligent about coupons. She also recommends canvassing different grocery stores for the best prices. And if it's any consolation,
between October 2022 and October 2023, we saw very little, roughly 1% increase in the price index for grocery items in the MetroWest. So if that trend continues, it would be safe to say that we've seen some sort of leveling for the time being. And that should provide some sort of, hopefully, relief for your average consumer.
Merck conducts their survey twice a year, every October and April. You can check it out for yourself by visiting their website at merc-fsu.org. And to put those grocery index percentages into context, Laura noted that certain items that once cost $2 or $3 a few years ago are now $5, $6, $7 plus. Brendan?
And thank you very much for that, Mackenzie. Now, as state, national, and global economic challenges weigh heavy on the budgets of many people, we wanted to take a closer look at the local level and the obstacles that are unique to the MetroWest economy. Luis Rosero is the co-director of Merck. We sat down with him to learn more.
Housing is an issue here. The availability of affordable housing is a challenge for sure. And second is the labor force. We're getting older, and there's less of us, and then that ultimately, poses a challenge for employers to hire skilled workers and to find the right match between the things that we need to get done and the skills that are available right now. And so there's a lot of opportunities there for the future, but we need to kind of be more intentional about how we address some of these challenges when it comes to the labor force.
What are some ideas that you think could be implemented, whether it's at the local or the state level, to address those issues? Because housing over the last couple of years especially has been a big undertaking on Beacon Hill at the state level, and as well as the workforce. I feel like you hear about that all the time, even at the national level.
So the first thing I say is we at Merck, our policy is not we inform, we don't take policy sort of views or sides on this, but obviously there's a lot of proposals that are floating out there, and in fact our next conference in May will deal exactly with this, with housing issues and potential solutions. What sort of things have we not thought about? Can we think a little bit outside the box in terms of how do we address these housing issues and ultimately the effect that this has on inflation and the very real effects on people's pocketbooks. So I think, we've been hearing, for example, things like the MBTA communities initiative that's going on right now. A lot of local communities are dealing with issues. So, do we designate specific parts of our communities to be more dense in order to increase affordable housing, or hopefully increase affordable housing? There's no guarantee there. What about commercial real estate that's sitting empty? Should that be maybe transformed into residential housing? There's a lot of ideas out there. Some have, all of them have their pluses and their minuses that we have to be careful with. But our role, I think, locally is to take all that information and try to, with the data that we have, try to hopefully inform the decision-making, policy-making.
Obviously, a lot of moving parts to all of that. You mentioned a lot of different facets, but is there any sort of general outlook that you might have for the rest of this year and beyond when it comes to the cost of living here regionally?
I think some of the structural things are there, and those are not going to go away anytime soon. The thing with inflation in general, I'm a macroeconomist, and the thing that we know about inflation is that it tends to be sticky. It's not something that just happens and then it goes away quickly. There's a lot of psychological aspects to this in terms of expectations to people. Sometimes inflation can be sort of a self-fulfilling prophecy. We think everything is expensive, and then we start charging higher wages. or businesses start to charge higher prices on their products, and then the cycle goes on and on and on. So the question is, how do we break that cycle? I don't think prices will go down again substantially. We have seen some prices come down, and the survey that we do at Merck shows that, but ultimately some of the big drivers of these price increases are still there. Those are not going away anytime soon, which are housing, labor force limitations, and things of that sort. Yeah.
Both Luis and Laura noted that there is no simple solution for inflation and the many other challenges faced by our economy. A reminder now that we're on social media. Follow us to keep in touch with your Framingham news in focus. You can find us on Instagram and X. The handle for both is @FrameNews_. You can also subscribe to the Access Framingham YouTube channel and hit the bell icon to be notified when new episodes go up every week. Check out our Facebook page as well by simply searching for The Frame. Let's check in with the local weather now. Friday is shaping up to be chilly and cloudy. It could also bring a few snow showers, especially in the evening. Highs in the upper 20s and lows cooling down into the low teens. On Saturday, expect mostly cloudy skies with highs near 20 and lows once again in the low teens. It's looking like Sunday will be mostly clear with sunshine. You'll still want to bundle up for the cold though, with highs in the upper 20s and lows around 15. It took a bit, but the winter chills have made their way to the MetroWest region this season.
Indeed, we can make a difference in this world, and yes, the dream of MLK might be our dream, and it becomes into reality. From your heart, to your head, to your hands, to your feet, make a difference.
That was Reverend Dr. J. Anthony Lloyd of the Greater Framingham Community Church speaking at their 37th annual Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. Day celebration on Monday. Community members gathered to honor MLK and continue the community church's quest to make Dr. King's dream of fairness, equity, and dignity for all a reality. It was one of multiple events in Framingham this month being held in honor of Martin Luther King Jr. Looking ahead to next Thursday, the 25th, FSU will be hosting a university-wide MLK commemorative lecture with Dr. Ilyasah Shabazz. Dr. Shabazz is an award-winning author, educator, and the daughter of Malcolm X. Her lecture will be held at the Dwight Performing Arts Center at FSU. It will begin at 6 p.m. Speaking of the Greater Framingham Community Church along Franklin Street, that will be the site of a vaccine clinic and health screening event this Sunday, the 21st. COVID-19 and flu vaccines will be offered at the event, which is being put on by the church alongside the Latino Health Insurance Program. High blood pressure and diabetes screenings will also be available. Lunch will be provided, and a gift card will be given to those who receive a coronavirus shot. The event will run from noon to 2 p.m. The Framingham History Center will soon be unveiling a new exhibit called Framingham's Collective Journeys, Stories of Immigration 1960 to Present. It will include oral histories, interactive components, artifacts, and more features that serve to tell the story of those who have immigrated to Framingham and the many ways that they've contributed to the city. The Frame was able to get a sneak peek at what's to come as volunteers joined the exhibit's co-curator, artist Patrick St. Pierre, to work on a community mural within the space. Volunteers were able to put their own personal touches on the mural, as well as paint other walls and spaces to help get the exhibit ready for its grand opening to the public on January 28th. We spoke with Patrick to hear more about the thoughts that went into creating this showcase.
We just want to honor the modern times of immigration, to showcase some of the struggles and what people have to go through to get here, and also how immigrants have transformed Framingham, all the different groups that make up our beautiful city. We have businesses downtown, we have community groups, we have festivals, and we have all different walks of life. And so we're trying to tell those stories.
And you can attend the grand opening of Framingham's Collective Journeys at the History Center on Sunday the 28th from 1 to 4 p.m. And finally tonight, volunteers are being sought by Framingham officials to join the city's Bicycle, Pedestrian, and Trails Committee. The goal of the 8-member group is to improve conditions in Framingham for pedestrians and bicyclists, ensuring accessibility, protecting and enhancing trails citywide, and providing civic engagement are all parts of the role. The committee is in need of both a resident aged 18 or older to complete a term through the end of June, as well as a youth member between the ages of 13 and 22. Wednesday, January 31st is the deadline to apply. More details can be found on framinghamma.gov. That's going to do it for this week's Framingham News in Focus. For all of us here at The Frame, we want to thank you for spending time with us tonight. I'm Brendan Fitzpatrick. We'll talk to you next week. Take care.